Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Buongiorno Veronica.
Buongiorno Antonio, tutto bene? Tutto bene?
Va bene, tutto bene. ¿Y tú? ¿Estoy? ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Estoy?
Sì, io, sì, tu. Io estoy bien, mi familia también. Estamos dando para la fin de todo esto.
Mm. Waiting, I suppose, no? Waiting to. Are you close to the end of the confinement?
Yes, still, until the 13th. But we are still waiting to know if it will be, yes, prolonged. And there is a strong discussion about reopening of non-essential companies. And very tough we see the act of let's say normal people that have a negative approach towards the reopening of companies. There is a little war against entrepreneurs, and it is not good, really. Apart from, of course, the importance to reopen only when necessary, but there's such a kind of a small class revolution, if I may call it so, and this is not good.
Yeah, I see. We can discuss about it. You should comment us about your situation later. Thank you, Veronica. Good morning, everybody. Bon dia, Aurora. Buongiorno, Hilaria. Buenos días,
Buen día.
Inés,
Buen día.
María, Miguel Ángel.
Buongiorno, good morning.
Buen día, Rui, Vasco.
Buen día. Morning.
Hello,
Perfect.
everybody. Egunon, Antonio.
Egunon, egunon. Thank you. So, what time is it? We will wait just 1 minute, okay? As usual, we will try to start sharp on time, okay? Today's meeting is about two things: homologations, public procurement. They are really close and related. As you very well know, or most of you very well know, our purpose is to share knowledge and ideas, and if possible, define future actions, next steps. We are joining here very high level experts, all of you, okay? So we try to give the opportunity to speak to everybody. We propose to be very, very to the point, very sharp in the interventions. That way we could let everybody participate and add their own wisdom, okay? So you have the possibility to share your views and your ideas at any time on Slido. You have a Slido. You have the link here in the screen. It's Slido, slide.do, and the code is ECA. You can use this link to access the area where you can share your ideas or also your questions. I will show you here. And now the first topic is about homologation. We will use one very strict time control, okay? Trying to fit all the session in 1 hour, okay? Yes, here is the timer. Okay, so as we hope to have two interventions, we will fit the time now for 10 minutes. So, moment. There's aquí. Yeah. Here it is. And now we are near ready to start. Welcome, Rui, to the session. I think it's your second time. Thank you for coming and joining us and sharing your expertise on homologation. As everyone knows very well, now this is one of the big challenges. There are a lot of people working on solutions, both from the companies and the research center, and from the social economy, from the makers, from those citizens that are dedicating a lot of efforts, time, even money, resources to prototypes, ideas against the coronavirus. Homologation is the key point to make them grow and make them available for everybody. So, Rui, your time. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, good morning to everybody. Okay, let me first start by saying that I'm not an expert on homologation. I'm just going here to share my experience, I would say, which is with some cases and regarding what we have done regarding this issue, and in our case, who are the entities of relationship that we must follow to try to go to this, I would say, this approach that we are taking here in everybody trying to aid in this fight to produce equipment and aid material for this problem. I don't know if I can share my screen, Antonio.
For sure, for sure.
Because I have here.
Yeah, you have it.
Okay. Okay. So I will maybe put it here on screen 2. You'll see yourselves, but I will put first here some slides. Can you see anything?
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Okay. In a brief view, the approach that we take in Centinf is common. We have these capabilities of product development, simulation. Then we use either 3D printing equipments or aspects of manufacturing and injection molding for production these products. Okay, for several approaches, but also for the medical area. So in this case, for instance, we've been recently doing masks that have been manufactured for using 3D printing. Okay, and now we have with the company scaling this up to being manufactured by injection molding in large quantities. Okay, so this company who is working with us is aiding also in the manufacturing of the mold and doing the injection of the parts in more quantities. And this is also to get in context what I'm going to say after this regarding the aspects of homologation. And then I will come back here just to give another case, which is more critical, I would say, in these aspects of homologation. Okay, so I will share now. Let me share the other thing. Okay, I think that you can see the screen again.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. So basically, what is, I would say, the phases or the steps needed when, for instance, I was showing this case of this mask that I was showing in the slide. What we need to do in this case, we are scaling for several phases. So we could go just by the part of the 3D printed masks, I would say. We are scaling up for making it with injection molding. There also some advantage of this. But what is necessary is to follow the regulations, which some of them, I would say, for many materials are already here in this web page from European Commission, which is regarding the CE. Sorry, because I went in the page in Portuguese, but it has the same in English. And we have a national page which is related with how do I say this in English, is the management of general health care in Portugal, where they have this systems page also regarding the orientations for the manufacturing of, not the manufacturing, the production of products without CE brand, but this is kind of a mix because some of them are already in the context of the CE brand. And in coming down here, you have all of these types of, sorry because it's in Portuguese, but I would just briefly say you have masks, you have several types of equipments. And if I come for instance down here, you have these types of equipments. Okay, these are protection glasses. Okay, so this is something that can be 3D printed, can be manufactured by injection molding, and they relate this with what is here in green, which is the regulations that have to be followed. Okay, which comes to the same regulations. Well, it would be a concern if we have kind of national regulations outside of what are the European regulations. But I would say, I don't know it in every case, but mostly in these types of products, they are following the same approach as the European regulation, and which is a large document, and these documents here are available for consultancy, I would say, which is good. I don't know why, but this is not opening. It's because of the flash. I don't know. I'm using Chrome. Sorry, it's blocked. Well, but I can share this link, and people can follow up for each type of product. What are the regulations in relationship also with what is the European regulation regarding these types of materials. So you have here for this type of product that I showed in the slide that we are manufacturing. Okay, and so what are the requirements for this? Because this was the example that I was showing. We have to produce, firstly, how do you say it in English, a sheet with specifications, okay, which apply to this orientation. I will show you an example of sheets that we are doing, one or two, just briefly, if this opens, for you to kind of see. So we have to read the regulation and try to put in a document. I would say this is kind of an example with information from the company, what is doing, and putting description, the relationship with the normative that I was showing previously, and mainly you have to follow these things. So in this case, we have to provide also to the entity in Portugal which is addressing these regulation issues, or one of them are two. It's ASAI and Infarmed. And in this case, to ASAI, that we have to follow these points. Okay, so who are the entities that we will provide these products? In this case, we with this company. So which hospitals are going to receive these masks? Okay, how the quantities, how much products are we supplying to each of these hospitals? Okay, we can also have some kind of tagging of references is good for having in the products. We can mark them in our case. So I believe this is to have a control of how many things are being produced, and having control of the supply of this, which is of course also important. And we have to yes, please.
30 seconds.
Yes. Okay. And just finish. And providing pictures of the products with the lot, with where you can see this amount of masks that are being produced. Identification of the product and who is the manufacturer. Okay. And these documents. So basically, this is the structure that we are following in Portugal. It's for this product. In case I just use the case for showing as example, but for, I would say, the most of these products, and I can show briefly. You have these types of things where you have to make the analysis for making the analysis of coronavirus. These test kits, they are still not here. You still not have here the information about ventilators also, which is very important right now. But mostly of these things are already in this site, and you can correlate with them. Some, for instance, masks, more. Yes.
We are really grateful, but we need
okay,
to keep
okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Obrigado,
So
obrigado, Rui.
No,
obrigado, Rui. No, we will, yeah, please. We will have the opportunity to continue speaking and asking you questions and proposals. Okay, but I think it's very important to keep the times. Okay, so
yes,
it's perfect. Thank you very much. It's clear. Thank you for the references. We will come back to you. Okay. Now it's time for speaking about the supply, the needs from the suppliers. Okay. Sorry, from the hospitals and the buyers, okay? And we have with us Ramon Garcia from the cluster CITET in Spain that he will share our experience and his experience, sorry, on this. Thank you, Ramon. Your turn.
Hello, good morning to everybody. Thank you, Antonio, for the opportunity to share with you the experience with the buyers in healthcare in Spain. I'm trying to summarize the main points that we have in the last Tuesday in the meeting that we have with the Spanish clusters. And for be short in time, I'm going to point the main bullets that we was talking about the last Tuesday. That are the things that I think the most important thing right now. The agreement that we have with these buyers. These buyers came from a Spanish committee that we have in our association with the healthcare services of the majority of the regions in Spain, and in which committee we are working hard in these last days for create best practices document for share with all the players in the supply chain that this document is focused on the needs or this last point, how to reach the healthcare services with the needs, and they are sharing this point of view for the people that are working in the suppliers and also in the transport services for them. Other point, this document is still not published. We are working on that. We need the approval of the national government to publish this document, but at the moment that we are going to share with all of you because it's very important, because in this document are all the main points that we need to maintain the supply chain in this field. The other thing that we talk about in the meeting of Tuesday was that the people from this committee are going to share with us the list of the items that they are more needed for them, and also the technical specification for you and for the people who have the capacity to produce it. And what was the first point that we're talking about? The second point is that they don't have only the problem of homologation, as all you know. They are public services and they have they have rules to come by these products. But they say the homologation is a very big problem for them. But there are also another problem, and in all of these meetings that is the first time that I have heard. It's the problem of capacity of response, because these alternative suppliers, the majority of them, they don't have enough capacity to respond to them. And the second one is they are public buyers and they have a rules for payment, and there are a lot of alternative suppliers that they don't have enough capacity to support these rules of payment that they are very long time. They takes long time to pay to the procurer, to the seller. The other thing that we was talking about in this meeting, that's the possibility of organize a meeting between not only the producer and the healthcare services who have the opportunity to introduce the distributors of the main items that they are buying, because products like respirators, the owner of them are not the hospitals, are the distributors in the majority of the cases. And we are trying to organize this meeting. We don't have enough time. The meeting was, or the agreement was the Tuesday, and as well, you know, right now, today and tomorrow are holidays in Spain, and we are trying to organize the next week this meeting, but we are working on that. And since we have the meeting on Tuesday, we are still working on the document, of the best practices document. It's the main goal of the committee right now. And the last thing that they are talking about was we need to create in Spain, not in Spain, in all the European Union, some flexibility from the suppliers, because right now, as well as all you know, we have a very big dependence of suppliers that are outside the European Union, mainly from China. We have to. They ask us for create an structure in Europe that not only for suppliers that are going to be focused only in this kind of supplies, but they have capacity for doing part of the production as much that thing or that situation. And I think it was the main points that we was talking about the last Tuesday. And Antonio, I don't think if you remember anything else.
I will reinforce the idea of involving the distributors. For me, it was totally new. They said they were 4 of the biggest buyers in Spain. They were one of each of them from different regions: Valencia, Catalonia, Andalusia, Madrid. Okay, and they say that mostly those items that they most need are only distributed by 5-6 distributors in Spain, and it was a very good idea to try to negotiate with them. So because they don't have now the items, because they should receive them from Asia or China or wherever, okay. But the possibility that we want to study is to link them with the national or regional or European industry in order to give them alternatives. And that's very, it should be easy to try, at least to try, because they are only 5 or 6. So it's easy to sit all them together in a table with the buyers, with our companies, with the clusters, and let's explore it. It could be very, very interesting if we are able to give them the possibility, because there are not only problems with the respirators, that there are problems also with replacement for parts. There are, I don't know who told us that for our respirators there are something like 80 different items around the respirators that they are having problems with, and the possibility that we want to study is, can our industry provide this kind of parts? Can we adapt our supply chain to provide them with the parts with quality? And if so, it will be far more easier to introduce them in the hospital, because the distributor has the homologation, the knowledge, the plans, everything.
And are the owners of the product also. That's the main problem, that there are not the hospital are not the owners of this appliance, are the distributors.
So if it works, it could be a best practice. You could try to do that in other countries. Look for the distributors of the hospital material. Anything else, Ramon?
We are working on this meeting, and we will have any news. We are in contact with you for the update.
You are doing a really good job. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And also, at the moment we have approved the best practice document. We are going to share with you also.
Thank you. Okay, so it's we are closing the first block of this video conference. It's about concepts. Okay, I am sharing my screen now. We will jump to the next block. It's about needs. We need to state needs in very short interventions from whoever wants to speak. Okay, just 3 minutes per person maximum. Okay, please be brief, to the point, and contribute. Who is the first?
Good morning, Antonio.
Morning, Daniel.
Can you hear me well?
For sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I think from what we have learned in the Spanish clusters meeting and from the comments that are all around after this this crisis, we need to get deep into the debate of how do you declare certain strategic assets needs for self-procurement. Now we have seen that globalization has certain risks that nobody had foreseen, and everybody is turning inward into self-procurement of things, even designing their own respirators or masks or everything to just serve this peak of needs. There will need to be a debate within the European Union as to whether in Europe we can act as a whole to self-provision from our strategic needs, and if not, every country will start doing the same effort, like Ramon has just mentioned. We need to make sure that when we need, we have enough, and it's not for our brothers or sisters from within the European Union. This will also need to be made at the political level, because now in the global market, many industries are very powerful and many resources have been allocated there. And if there is going to be a transition from those resources into self or inside creation of those products, they will start to complain at the political level, and they will make their movements, and the European Commission needs to be ready and needs to have a strong position on that, because there will undoubtedly be counter effects, and this will need to be renegotiated. So this is we need clarity on whether we want to go back to self-provisioning ourselves, because when the time is very, very, very urgent and in an emergency, and you are fighting for your life, agreements go to a second place, and the first is to provide for yourself.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. More needs.
Maybe I can jump in. Good morning. So, Miguel Angel here. I would say that it would be very, very good if we have other paths to homologate or to create solutions when, for whatever reason, the industry cannot do it immediately. So that's for example the effort we are trying to do, and we are finding many problems in the way, because we are not a company. So yeah, simply I think that never we had the
For those that doesn't know, you are part of the makers movement. You are speaking for the makers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm speaking for, well, I'm speaking only for myself, but I'm trying to coordinate this from the makers initiative. Yeah, that's true. So we are trying to involve a lot of industries that they are not really so into doing, for example, masks for ER room, which is the topic I'm trying to cover. So in the end, it's basically trying to find other ways to provide solutions when the industry, for whatever reason, cannot do it immediately.
Very well, very good. Thank you, Miguel Angel. You are also doing a wonderful job coordinating a lot of efforts. More people. More contributions. I am sure that you have a lot of needs. Aurora.
There's bon dia. There's a need to have some collection of the needs of the hospitals and social centers and whatever, for the equipment that need more investment. I've been contacting almost the network of entities in Portugal that could be useful to produce things that are needed in hospitals. And we've found out that, for instance, if you have to invest in creating complex molds, those that are not easy and cheap, you only do it if you know that then you can sell the parts that the molds will produce. And now everyone is rushing, everyone is so tired that we don't know in which place we can see the immediate and the a little farther time needs for those objects. As you know, I've shared with all of you the model for the parts that go into the mouth of the patients, from the respirator to the mouth, was something in Portuguese called tracheia. And this part, which some people in Europe say that can be produced in 3D, it's true if it is a powder 3D SLS, but it's too much expensive than like that, and still has some danger. So I was inviting the mold people to do it, but it's so complex that it's only paid, let's say, the construction of the mold if the quantity is enough, and we don't have any any kind of idea of what quantities will be needed of this part. This is only an example. It can happen with other what other materials. So the need to know a immediate and a far time consumption of each of the things that are rare or are more expensive to bring from another country or from China or from the US. There are things that are needed from the US and we cannot get. For instance, some kinds of motors for the ventilators. There's a lot of things that local people could invest, but they're afraid, local companies, individuals or companies, would like to invest, but they don't know the market. There is no time and no availability to help on this, let's say, market study.
Thank you. Obrigado, Aurora. Very good. It's clear. We need a forecasting to plan. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Another one.
Okay, I might add something to this, what Aurora said, and it has been said previously. Okay, so there are two steps, two different parts here. The short term, I would say, the urgency, but we have the part of the long term. It has been addressed by you, Antonio, previously, the involvement of the distributors and the owners. I think this is a good idea. We have to think about why these things are being made in China. You asked, and we have the capability to do these things in Portugal, okay, or in other countries which has this capability. So it has been this movement for production in China, mainly the reason of costs. So I think this must have this deciders, I would say. It's not just saying by the European Commission that, okay, we should bring back the manufacturing to Europe. There's this capability of manufacturing in Europe. These groups, I would say, of distribution, from my knowledge, are mainly in Switzerland. But the reason here is cost. So it has to have some defense from this aspect of large manufacturing, bringing it back to Europe. Capability exists. You can do these parts right now. The aspect is what Aurora is saying, is an aspect of quantity, which we don't. Nobody is going to make a very complex mold, which costs very high cost to make to solve this some amount of parts for urgency, because it will be too expensive. We have to think this, of course, for now, but on the long run, and have a supply chain for this. Okay. This is just what I would address here, because in our cluster, we have been doing this for quite some time, and the main problem is this, is the ownership, I would say, from these groups of distribution, and the reasons they are manufacturing in China and not in Europe.
Thank you very much, Roy. Perfect. More needs.
I have two. I can do two in 3 minutes, I think. Okay, so one would be basically that we this is actually going in the direction that that Daniel and Rua said, but basically, even if we provide nationally, this is going to be essentially more expensive, and we should provide also, because I know by first hand that now that right now they are being not bought simply for the price that they are producing right now. So we should also reserve money in these emergency situations. If the production that we can do nationally is more expensive, okay, that's it. But we should also go in that direction. And on the other hand, from my feeling and from my experience, I think that in the very short term, it would be very nice if we could allow a mechanism to license solutions that are already homologated from basically companies that can, in some way license the homologation, the homologated models, so that other companies can use it in emergency time. So it can be really not sustaining time, because we need all patents and whatever. But for the emergency situation, it would be nice that we had this mechanism, so that, I don't know, maybe enforcing licensing of these homologated models.
Or quick licensing of new models or contribution. I totally agree with that. Yeah, something that we are lacking at this moment. I want to share with you that, as you very well know, past Thursday we received some information from Berin, if I am remembering well, from France, about the homologation of 2 new masks for population and for professionals, and we shared that information immediately with our Spanish government. And yesterday, the Spanish government published this same French homologation, enabling us here in Spain to start the production. And that's a very, very good achievement from this group. Thanks to everybody that is sharing very valuable information, because we are using it and we are making results on it. So congratulations. It's time to jump to the next block, potential solutions. So I would like to hear something from Frank, Bosenberg, from Christophe, from those that usually doesn't speak. Would you propose any solution of all these problems, needs?
Maybe I can start, Frank, Silicon Saxony, Germany. Basically, we are still in the process of figuring out a working solution for Saxony or for Germany. That's why I'm a little bit reluctant in proposing a solution, any solution already for the European level. We have the exactly same discussions. Are the production prices, if we produce within our country or within Europe, higher than if we import from China? But we are on a regional level and also on a national level exactly, and those discussions. What should be produced within Europe, basically, and what shouldn't? We have this discussion related to microelectronics for years. We always insisted that microelectronic products are critical, system critical in the worst case. Now all these discussions are extended to medical equipment, but we are not yet at the stage where anything worth sharing is really agreed on. That's the sad part of the story. As soon as there will be something, I will share it here happily.
Okay. So a solution will be to reach some kind of European agreement on what is strategic, and perhaps change the status or the evaluation of some items, and made or yes, define them as strategic. And I know for a fact that electronics is part of the big problem now, because there is a lack of some components critical for ventilators, for example. Thank you, Frank. More solutions. Whoever want to add a solution.
Lisa speaking from France.
Bonjour, Lisa.
Bonjour.
Yeah. A little low, if you can.
I try.
Better.
Just to say, yes, it's
Perfect.
better.
Perfect.
It was a solution already given in some other meetings, but it's about, I think today the example of Ramon Garcia showed very well that we need the knowledge from the healthcare clusters, and it would be a solution to support the cooperation from between clusters from healthcare sector with industrial clusters, because the healthcare clusters have a better knowledge of the needs of hospitals, the constraints these ones have as buyers. We heard that very well today, and the rules for homologation as well. So they could really help industrial clusters to know how they can supply with alternative device. And another idea that industrial clusters could also help with the constraints of quantity we talked about today, because they can organize groupings maybe of companies. If the amount is too low, they can support maybe a grouping to reply to the tender. We have some examples in France about that. So this is, I think it would be helpful to have this support for this cooperation between clusters from healthcare and clusters from industrial sectors. And this was an idea given by Patrick from Pastipolis. So maybe we already raised this need solutions. So maybe there is some feedback from the European Commission about that. If I remember Ula said that she want to look at this idea. So this is the first point. The second is a question to Ramon Garcia about. He said that there is a work at European level with other European clusters, but I didn't really get it what it is. Thank you.
Ramon?
Sorry. Right now, we only know that there are. We have our committee of healthcare representing in Spain more than 40 hospitals and also central services in regions. And we only know that there are 2 similar clusters in Europe, one in France, another one in Italy. We are in contact with them, and I can give you the contacts. If any of you know another one cluster similar, you can give me the contact also, because it's very important for us to be in contact with them.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Lisa, I want to repeat. Please translate. Give our most heartily felt thank yous to Stefan Berin for the information that he gave us past week. Okay, we will write this in any case to him directly. Congratulations. Okay, Anais, I'm sure that you have some proposals.
Hi, good morning. Actually, I don't. I'm
Oh.
sorry, this morning not so inspired. No, so you put house with the coffee. On regards to public procurement, I think there are many events that are gonna come up. I think what I'm taking from today is to ensure that not only it's public procurement of health, so health companies, let's say, or life science, but that we need to open up. And this is something that I will take back to the different events that I know are going to happen in the next weeks, especially because within the cluster of life science, I will try to share. So I don't know now if it's better on Slack or wherever. I can send you the information of events that I know are going to happen. Like I said, some matchmaking event, and I will ensure that they invite also let's say actors from other sectors, which I think is what I don't have it now on my screen because they only sent me.
Don't worry. If you
so
can,
I will share the news with you.
Sorry, finish.
Yeah. No, and my other question, because I think, sorry, I think also, I don't know if it's been mentioned or not, but regarding the best practices that we discussed last week, because, for example, the ones that have been mentioned today and what Ramon has presented, I think other countries are very interested in knowing what's going on. So we started this, let's say, forum and questionnaire. I know there's a folder on the ECCP platform about best practices, but is there something new on that? I'm just wondering. Sorry, it's more a need, but about the forum that we did and that we shared last week, and how we can send best practices to so in a more structured way.
Yeah, that was my recommendation. Just to, for sure, you could
Okay.
use a Slack. Probably most of you or all of you have received the invitation for a Slack. Slack is just for internal working, okay? But if something must to be public, our recommendation is clearly to go to the forum, the ECCP forum, okay?
Perfect.
Is the central point of information for everyone, okay? And yes, we are sharing best practice, as you can see. You can share the events also in that area, or I can help. I don't know. It depends on where do you see if they are specific or something very concrete or not. Okay, but yes, the recommendation is if you are going to publish something that everyone should know, please do it in the ECCP forum.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. And I want to take the opportunity to remember everyone that at midday today at noon, you are having a session of the Council of European Bioregions. And
Yes.
if I am right, everyone is invited, no?
Absolutely. I can put in the chat box now, but yes, we do the weekly updates. So obviously, I take back what's been discussed here in the morning, and also some other aspects, and most importantly, the feedback from the life science sector. So definitely, everybody's invited to join.
Really interesting. Thank you, Anais. More proposal of solutions.
Antonio, this is a mix of solution and need I've not seen discussed before, and just came to my mind because it's a worry. When I spoke to several people about homologation and what is difficult for, not for industries, but for the large, immense number of makers, I'm sure Miguel Angel has the same experience. My point when we try to achieve security of each one that wants to contribute, that is doing the right thing, is that, for instance, the rule that Thank You France shared and Spain just approved. When I walked through that with people that know about homologation, they say, yes, this is the good thing in terms of the filtration percentage, in terms of the size of the particles. But what I feel is that each maker that is printing the top part of a face mask and is using the transparent pellicles that they can get around. Sometimes it's the good thing, the most useful thing. Sometimes is those I don't know this in English, but the pages that are used to make presentations, and each of the makers, each one of the makers do not know the materials, the properties of the materials enough to be sure that they're putting the right protection transparent pellicle with the part they print. On the makers global network, there are experts on materials, but we also need to create, maybe in Europe, and the solution could be to do it, create like a table accessible to all the makers about the properties of each materials that are being used on these things that are made worldwide, I think, by makers. Because the goodwill of each one is very good, but also the worry if they're doing the right thing.
Thank you. Miguel Angel, your turn.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I can share what we are doing in Spain, and I'm, for example, coordinating a group that is interested in masks, and is right now, I think that is close to 3,000 persons there, and our focus is always to share science. In that sense, basically, we even with 3,000 persons, they know what they are doing, because we are always every claim need to be backed up by a paper, basically. And at the beginning there was a lot of noise, of course, 3,000 people, but over time, with this approach of science, and now basically they are auto moderating, if you want. They are basically, when someone says, I want to use, I don't know, active carbon for making an improvised filter, then people know where to basically point and say, like, in this paper you can see that this is not the way. So basically, I think that there is a lot of pedagogy. How do you say that? No, teaching that we can do, and our approach is basically, we have a forum, and we every time that we identify something that the people is saying, like, I don't know, like, what is better, to have one I don't know, like a pillowcase, or a shirt, and then basically the answer is none of the two, and we have basically all the references to back up what we say. I think that's in my opinion one of the ways to go when dealing with the maker space, let's say, like providing these kind of things.
Because you are in the University of Barcelona, no?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's true. And basically, I started in this business simply because I was seeing how people were not aware of the physics of aerosol. Like, for example, they were all the time saying, like, yeah, but every single virus is gonna drop to the ground in question of seconds, and I was showing the calculations, just to say, no, that's not gonna happen. It's true for the majority of the droplets expelled, but not for all of them. So simply, backing up everything with science is I think is a good way to go. I can see, I would say that it's an anomaly in the rest of the groups that we are coordinating, because this one is basically everything about science, and I'm very proud of that.
You should
That's
be proud.
really, really good. That's a very good solution. My suggestion is that you share that all over Europe in a way so that people that are not on the maker communities, and I've been aware of so many people that usually are not makers and are not connected to the networks, also feel comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. There is sorry. We are closing the session, but before I would like to speak about next session's subjects, okay, and also about actions, because that's really important. Ilaria is taking care of the actions tracking, and Anais is in charge of the agenda of the sessions, and we should think about what are we going to speak about next week, and what is the main action that we could take or decide from what we have been speaking about today. So for the next session topics, I would propose you to go to Slido and fill the pool that you have there, or please speak now. What kind of topics would you like to speak about next week? For sure, we will insist in social economy one day. That's clear.
Do you think, Antonio, the social economy includes also this matter that I was saying before about basically prioritizing buying the national when it is homologated, when everything is fulfilled, but the price is not the one from China. Is this also in that topic?
I think that's different, and I really think that it's important to speak about it. Yeah, we should speak about realigning supply chains and reevaluating the strategic activities. Good proposal. Thank you.
It's from Maria. It's she's the brain.
Maria is here.
Yeah,
Welcome,
I'm here.
Maria.
Yeah,
Welcome,
I'm
Maria.
here.
Will you
Thank
comment?
you very much. No, only I think it's so important to talk about the price and understand the value of make these products in Europe and homologate and the effort that the producers are doing in this topic, and think about it all together because it's so important.
Perfect. We should organize a session about this. Thank you. More.
Yeah, I have an idea. Maybe if there are some concrete example of cross-sectorial collaboration, that could be very interesting also to push forward.
Yeah, to speak about that and to make them visible. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anais.
Hello.
You are writing this, Anais. You are writing all this proposal, I suppose.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well,
hello.
Antonio, there's a long time since we don't have a session about the ventilators, and also some of the issues we discuss in this larger group or more general approach group are also important for the large number of people that are developing ventilators, such as homologation, such as the science approach that Miguel Angel spoke about very well. And the rules, this kind of approach for the industry is really important for ventilators. So my suggestion is that we re-invite the people from the ventilators group to those more strategic meetings.
Okay, perfect. Christophe.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm just coming back to our yesterday discussion, Antonio, that maybe the session related to some software or ICT solutions would be needed to discuss. As I told you, we have some proposal from Poland, and I suppose that in many other countries there is also a lot of movement regarding this ICT response.
Totally agree. We need to, we spoke also some sessions ago to invite digital innovation hubs representative to the session to try to create links or reinforce link between them and our group. Yeah, totally. Thank you, Christophe. Hilaria.
Yes, Ilaria from Italy. Yes, I can add the same. I was thinking about the ICT dimension and all the technology movement that is coming up. So yes, also from Italy, I can try to involve one person that is involved in the development of these new technologies.
Thank you. Perfect. Grazie mille, Hilaria.
Okay, I have one more, if I may, on the funds, because we had a session this week on the EU funding, and I'm just wondering if, obviously by next week, I'm not too optimistic that it's already going to be in place at regional level, but if we would have some concrete example, that could be nice also.
So it will be the second
Funding,
version of okay funding.
Another thing that could be interesting to discuss is as each country is in different phases of the crisis, some are getting out, some are on the worst part, some are still before that and don't know how to face the next phase, to share the best practices of the country, not only of the clusters, but the best examples of how social things, economical things, health things have been solved to allow the country to get out of the crisis would be very useful for those that still are not there and for those that are on the worst part.
So it will be something like top best practice around Europe, something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Antonio, I think it's interesting to talk about how to can put in practice any measure to these small makers that are trying to sell to the public administrations, and they are paying to them in very long term. And I think they are making that it's not possible to them to sell. And I think it's possible to create or put in practice any measure from the European Union or also from the national governments. I think it's a very important point.
How to link public procurement with the makers community?
No. How to create measures for the financial problem? Because if you are a small producer and you are going to sell to public administration, probably your payment were 200 days later or something similar. And
I see.
you can. This is the point.
Thank you.
Antonio, I also would suggest to speak at some point, I don't know if for an entire session of how do we go back to work. You forgive me because I am very insistent on this topic, but I think it's so important to not waste one single day of efficiency. Whatever the date is, the faster we make the transition, the less GDP that we are going to lose, and jobs that are lost in one day take months to create. So the industry here is an absolute key player in this topic, and it needs to be coordinated at the European level.
Yeah, and the policymakers.
Yes.
Starting at the top from the policymakers.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Antonio, yes, and Daniel, in Italy, we are talking very, very much a lot on this topic in these days. So what sector first reopen, what type of employees can go back to work, on how much time or what days during the week. So we are discussing a lot. By now, there's not a final decision on it, but maybe it could be useful to consider some time between us to share what is emerging in each country, what solution they're proposing. I don't know if it could be useful.
That would be good if I think we can speak for sure about it. Okay, it's really important, but please share these references in the ICCP forum as soon as you have them, because that way they could be read by everyone. But I totally agree.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lisa?
Can you hear me? I have some connection problem. Yes,
We can.
Yes.
Now.
Just it's better.
Now it's better. Yeah.
Yes. A focus on the we talk a lot because it is the emergency to supply hospitals, the public buyers, but it is to make a focus how to supply the company, private sector, who because it's linked to you to bring for masks and all they will need for going back to work. So I think in our network we have lots of needs from from small businesses needing masks and so on. And of course, they are not priority, but maybe we can offer solutions with makers and so on to connect the needs and offers easier for the private sector. Just to focus on that, how we can work on that, because it's a very different issue than hospitals.
Yeah, you are totally right. Very interesting. It's related with what Daniel proposed, how to go back to work, but it's totally pertinent and interesting. Thank you, Lisa. We could include that in the session on how to go back to work. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we will close now. Thank you very much. We will speak tomorrow about the advanced textiles, the role of non-woven as technical textiles in the fight against the coronavirus. You are invited. Thank you. Have a very good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A very good day to you too.
Adiós. Buen día.
Bye. Adiós.
How do you say adios?